What's up, guys? Welcome to week 6 of the Chasing Kilos podcast. I'm here with Matt, as always, and today, or this week, we are actually going to be talking about programming and like simple programming, just stuff that you can do on your own that you don't need to hire someone for, or maybe it might be a little better than what you would find online. Um, Matt, do you want to just give your initial thoughts on the topic?
Yeah. I think, like you said, simple is key here. And for today, we're going to keep it really, really simple. You can go as complex as you want with programming. It can get pretty crazy, but it doesn't usually have to. And I would argue that most people don't need anything complex whatsoever,
Yeah.
especially unless people are very like specific, like Joey PB or something is probably going to be way more complex than just someone trying to lose a couple pounds.
But even so, it's still, made up of the same exercises. It's
Absolutely.
all the same principles. It's nothing that different.
I think it's just you're right. Like same principles is just like scalable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So like once you can, I don't know. I don't want to. That might be generalizing too. If you understand the principles, you can kind of program for anyone.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. That's I feel like that's true in a lot of areas, not just for exercise.
Definitely.
Once you get the basics.
Right.
Uh, so why would someone want to, or all right, how about let's start off with what are you seeing in a lot of like the beginners or the people who aren't quite sure what they're doing in the gym in terms of their programming and exercise selection and all that?
I would say like the biggest mistake I see is randomness. In the sense of like I can't tell you how many times I've heard like, oh, what do you guys want to do today? Like just overhearing it.
Right.
And like while every once in a while that can be fun, if your program's based off what do you want to do today, you're not going to get very far. And unfortunately, that's true. But other than that, I would say the next biggest one would be just like picking different pieces of like different programs and piecing them together. You can't do that. It's not like a collage. It's not going to come out good.
A lot of other stuff I see is I'm sure like everyone their first time working out was doing 3x10s of everything.
Yes.
It's actually not a bad place to start if you can if you can progress that properly. It's you can probably take it pretty far as a beginner. But yeah, no, like Matt said, just the randomness of exercise selection, maybe doing something that isn't quite right for you, but you just thought it was cool because you saw it on the internet or something.
Right.
And then, like you said, you can have fun with it, but just don't have the entirety of your workouts based off of what looks cool or what's hip these days.
Right. If you want to use that as like a finisher or like, oh, I saw this cool exercise on Instagram, like let's give it a shot. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely be used, but it doesn't have
yeah,
to like be every single day.
yeah, exactly. Um, what about like stuff that you can find online, like what I used to go to powerliftingtowin.com a lot. They had a bunch. He like reviewed all the most popular programs online, like 531, Shaco, all that.
That's all.
Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on just someone finding like bodybuilding.com?
Yeah,
That was a big one back then.
that's still a big one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think do a little research, find something that kind of jives with you, and if you are going to do it, do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't change anything, and then decide after if it works. Like, how are you going to know if you tweak it halfway through? I think that's another pet peeve of mine is saying you're doing a program, but then you're only doing like 10% if you keep changing everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like an example is I ran 531, which is the name of one of the popular powerlifting programs. But I only ran it 1 month, and then I tested my max, and I was like, I didn't really do anything. I didn't know you're supposed to like repeat it. But yeah,
I
so
think, especially 531, that program, I've seen so many people do it and they do it for like 3 months. But if you really
yeah,
look and you realize it, like his big thing is taking a couple steps back so you can just keep pushing
right,
forward long
right,
term. So honestly, in the short term, it's going to look like it didn't do anything.
yeah, exactly,
And I think a lot of people have that experience.
yeah. So what are some like key points if to someone who just wants to figure things out, have a good base?
Yeah. I think the biggest one is finding out what your goal is. Obviously, you're going to approach things a little bit differently. Maybe not as differently as you think, but a little bit differently than if you were like just general fat loss or you're looking to get strong or looking to get fast, or whatever it may be. You got to start with what you want to get out of it.
Guys, there's no exercises, workouts, or exercises for men, exercises for women.
Yes, yes, that's insane.
We don't differ that much. We're
No,
we're the same. We're in the same bodies.
no, exactly. But yeah, other than that, I would just make sure. I'm a big fan of making sure you're covering like all the fundamental human movements, which for me would be a push, a pull, squat, a hinge, and a carry. And then I'm stealing those straight from Dan John. I didn't make any of that up. And then from there, you can kind of split it down into like the push and the pull can be a horizontal and a vertical, and then maybe add in like a little bit of rotational work, and that's basically everything.
Oh yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I actually got that from. No, Dan John is really good if you guys want to do some reading. I got that from Paul Check. I don't know if you've heard anything about him.
I'm familiar with him, but I don't know like his stuff super well.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. It's squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, twist, and walking.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
like the walking in actually.
Um, because if you guys think about it, that's really like all the things that you would do ever. Like you're
Right,
not going to do anything different.
you're not going to encounter much else.
Yeah. So once you can like get those good and progress those movements so that you're really strong in them, then your chance of injury for one in everyday life goes way down because you're moving properly, and then two, since those are your main movement patterns anyway, you're just going to get a lot stronger in them, so you're going to pick up stuff better and pick up more stuff and use less energy to do so.
Right.
So how would you say someone? All right, so now we know all the 7 movement patterns. Now what? Like, how do we put that into exercises at the gym?
Yeah. I actually, so typically I'll use one more step too, is like I'll take those movement patterns and then I'll divide them into like the planes of movement. And I know that seems like it's getting super complicated, but once you understand those 3 planes, it's actually really, really simple. And then I just make sure that there's one for each category, at least a little bit. And it is going to be more like sagittal, which is like your deadlifts and your squats and your bench press. But like that frontal plane movement of side to side, and then transverse plane of being like challenged up and down. I usually want most people to get that. And like you said, from like an injury prevention standpoint, I think that's huge. I know
Yeah,
that it doesn't sound as simple, but it really can be.
yeah, guys, don't forget about you move side to side too. You don't just walk backwards and forwards. You
Well, we're
don't.
like the biggest offenders too, as like
Yeah, yeah,
like our sport literally is just in one
just
plane.
up and down.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Um,
no, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that's why we're not athletes.
No. Certainly not.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like starts in here with me and then he wants out.
So if you think about the movement patterns that would use up the most muscle, you don't even have to know it from a scientific perspective. Just look up a picture of it and then do it with just your body weight. Which one do you think is the most tiring? Then that one should probably be first on your exercise list.
Right.
So you have room or time for all the other stuff that might not use up all that.
Well, especially from like a even just like energy standpoint, like you said, not being tired for the next stuff. But then also like I always tell people like life comes up. So put the most important stuff first because you don't know if you're gonna get a phone call, you gotta run, or you gotta go cook dinner or something crazy like that. Obviously you want to make training a priority, but things do come up.
Yeah.
They're just being realistic. It just makes sense to put the most important stuff first.
Yeah, definitely. Um, all right, so let's start with say a squat.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone knows they should do them, but everyone hates doing them. Um,
Me too.
how should we start? Why don't we start from someone who's never been to a gym, never done any exercise or sports, just straight from couch to gym?
Yeah.
Where should they start?
Yeah. I like to start everyone with a body weight squat. And even if you've been lifting forever, I'll still start you with a body weight squat. Maybe not in your program, but just in your assessment, and then I'll build from there. I think it's wicked important to have like those built-in progressions. So for me, what that would typically be, and I've stolen a lot of the things that we do at Architect from that too, is we'll start with like a body weight squat. And then what we do, we have like a squat with a steel mace, which is actually pretty cool. And it just kind of works on like grooving that motion. And then we'll load you with like a double or a single kettlebell goblet squat, holding it in front of you. Then we'll go to a double. And then from there, usually it's landmine. And then if people have like the goals, we'll put them on a barbell.
Yeah.
So just, I guess, long story short is just having that built-in progression.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't have to keep progressing. One of the worst exercises out there in my, I mean, there's no bad exercises, but one of the ones that has the highest chance of injury or movement dysfunction, I think, is the bench press. You can get a lot of chest exercise through, contractions and extensions through dumbbells where you don't need the bar. You don't have to be, it's safer too, so you won't get stapled.
Yeah.
So
statistically, the most dangerous exercise there is the bench press.
Oh, is that actually?
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely from like a death standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I think injury-wise too, yeah.
One more thing, guys. Big topic. If anyone tells you to bench thumbless or reverse, don't do that.
Stop. Yeah. Stop.
Yeah, that's how you die.
We don't want death here.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, back to the topic. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with doing kettlebells, dumbbells, front squats, even some machines.
Yeah.
They're not all that bad as long as you know your proper movement patterns first. So what about programming wise? Like how many sets and reps? How would you?
Yeah.
What would your thoughts be on that?
I've kind of like gone in a 180 direction. I used to be a big strength guy, and I would say start everyone with strength, like 3x5. And this is probably because of my experience starting strength years ago. And then I build like a base level of strength and then work on hypertrophy, almost like your typical linear periodization. But recently I've had so much more success starting people with higher reps, like the 3x10, like you were talking about. And honestly, usually like 3x15 for a few reasons. One, it's a little bit, I don't want to say safer, but it's easier on your joints. Two, you just get so much more practice.
You say 3x15?
Yeah. Well, so like for a goblet squat.
Okay.
Yeah, no, people don't really start with like a bench bench maybe, but like a squat 3x15.
Yeah.
But like if you're new to the gym, I like 3x15 just because like you're getting so much reps.
Yeah.
Like you had 45 practice reps to get better at a squat pattern.
Right.
Like if I give you 3x5, that's 15.
Yeah.
But then obviously once you get more advanced and more progressed, we're lowering those reps and we're letting you load it up a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I hate high rep stuff, but no, it's good. There's a ton of new research on hypertrophy and like how pretty much every rep range can benefit from, how hypertrophy can be a result of pretty much any rep range. And then, more muscle is never really a bad thing.
No. I can't think of a scenario where that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and also, guys, if you stay natural, you're not gonna have too much muscle.
No, that's not gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
I wish it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right, a lot of people are like, oh, what if I work out and then I don't want to get too bulky. All right, but like, all right, let's say you're working your job from 20 to 70. That's 50 years of working your job. Are you stupid rich yet? Like to the point of where you don't know what to do with your money or it hinders you?
Right. No one's ever like, oh God, I don't want to get too rich. Like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I'm definitely giving a bunch of hypertrophy for my lifters too. Pretty sure they're hating it, but it's good to start somewhere. Especially because as a new lifter, so your muscles will grow. Yeah, your muscles will get stronger. And that happens. It doesn't happen immediately, but relatively quickly. As a new lifter, you will notice your strength go up and maybe a little bit of hypertrophy too. But the thing that is more important than that is your connective tissues. Like your tendons and ligaments. That stuff takes longer time to develop, and that can lead to injury in those areas. If you look at a lot of people who do, steroids, and they go up too fast in either strength or mass, their connective tissues don't have time to grow and match the rate of their muscles, so they end up, getting hurt there. Obviously, if you stay natural, that might not happen to you, but you do want to do some higher reps just to get that stuff, working, get it loose, and strengthen that as well.
Oh, for sure. And your joints, like, obviously they
Yes.
perform better and they just feel so much better.
Yes, definitely. What about like exercise selection? We went through the 7 movements, but how do we choose something? Like, how would we do we still break it down to chest day, leg day?
For me, no. The most I'll ever break something down for like a body part would still be like patterns, and that would be like a push pull. Um, and that's the most like bodybuilding split that I go. Not that I'm against bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I'm not a bodybuilder. It's just not an efficient way to train. So for me, it's just about finding like once again what your goals are, and then any restrictions you might have. That's usually the biggest predictor of what movements I'm going to give you, because I usually have an ideal like, oh, this person wants to get bigger in their upper body. So right off the bat, I know they want a stronger upper body, bigger shoulders, whatever. I'm probably going to give them like a barbell row, but maybe they have like golfer's elbow or something crazy like that, so that would kind of change the course of action there.
Yeah. It's also personalized that sometimes if you are a special case, a lot of the online programs don't take that into account.
Yeah.
But you don't know if you are until, like, you don't know if you might have some dysfunction somewhere until you're really under the bar and really pushing some weight.
Right.
But if you can, I think the first thing is to get down the movement patterns in a stable manner, and not just doing them quick, but really being able to control yourself through the entire movement of something. For example, a squat, you want to control yourself all the way down and all the way back up. You don't want to just drop your hips and then hope that something catches you on the way back. And then, same thing for bench. Obviously, you don't want to just drop it on your chest and then just push it up. You want to be able to like control, or sorry, a push up. You want to control it all the way down and all the way back up. But you can give. Actually, you know what? I think eccentrics are a good thing for a lot of starters.
I could tell you were kind of going there.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot too. Tempo stuff's awesome.
Right.
The only thing I'm careful with, and it's nice for beginners because they're not using that much weight anyways, is it can make you wicked sore.
Yeah.
So as long as I don't just throw everything eccentric at them.
Right.
Like eccentric squats, like what better way to like groove that pattern or that position, or even like a little bit of a pause at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, tempo stuff's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And then eccentric. So your muscles really have 2 functions. They can shorten or they can lengthen. So a good way to think of it is your bicep, which I don't do really arms, but I'm not gonna.
Feels good.
A concentric movement for your bicep muscle is when it flexes like that. The eccentric is when you would stretch it out like that.
Right.
So you do have more muscular control on the eccentric portion on the way down, by a good amount. So it's a good way to learn your form, hammer in that form, and then from then on you can put on some bigger weight. It's hard on the ego, so if you're a beginner, just take advantage of you using lightweight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think for the eccentric stuff, if I remember right, it's like between 110 and 120%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So like you can technically overload that eccentric.
Right.
People. Like in a squat, if you're gonna miss, you can at least ride it down.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way for a lot of people who want to learn to do push-ups or pull-ups too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like some assistance on the way up, and then using their own body weight to kind of resist the.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So how about let's give one exercise of our choice for each of the movements.
Yeah.
Let's start with squat. What's your choice and why?
Typically, I'm gonna go with the goblet squat 90% of the time, just because I can get anyone to get benefit out of it. If you're a beginner, you can squat with a really light dumbbell, and if you're an advanced lifter, like I can manipulate those with tempo, pre-fatiguing it with other things, different rep ranges. Like anyone can get something out of a goblet squat.
You stole my answer because I was going to say that too.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. But yeah, no, for good reason. Like people, even I have a benefit from it. It helps me feel my hamstrings when I'm squatting to decrease my lower back pain. But we'll go over that in another episode. I guess I'll have to choose for a squat. I guess I'll just have to go with the high bar back squat then. Or if you have access to it, a safety bar squat.
Oh my God, we have one at the gym, and I love
Yeah,
it. It's so nice.
I want to try it. I haven't gotten to try it yet.
It's just like so versatile.
Yeah,
It looks intimidating, and that's the only thing it has against it is like more gen pop, like beginners will be like, oh my God, like I don't want to get in that thing.
yeah,
But it's actually it's counterintuitive because it actually like just makes it feel so much better.
right.
More like
I think it's cool because it looks like a jetpack.
oh yeah, yes, definitely.
But yeah, I choose those over like a low bar squat just because you're able to load it up pretty much to the same amount, and then it's just easier on the joints and will groove a better movement pattern generally than
Yeah.
a low bar squat. And I feel like it has more transference, but I don't want to put that out there. It'd be really cool.
I would consider it's like the trap bar deadlift of
Right,
the squats, if that makes sense.
right.
It's like a hybrid of a front and a back squat, but it just puts you in like I've noticed like walking by, watching clients when they're squatting in that thing, it just looks like such more of a natural position.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Um, so moving on to the hinge, are you going with the trap bar?
see, that's where I'm torn. I want to say yeah, just because once again it's so versatile. I'm torn because it gets like less away from like a pure hinge.
Yeah,
But once again, I think versatility wins out, and I'd go with the trap bar.
yeah. Um, why should someone choose that over a regular bar for a deadlift?
Yeah, well, for starters, it's just it's an easier position to get into at the bottom. A lot of times you see people's like deadlift position fall apart at the bottom, and things get pretty ugly. But for the most part, I've had very few clients that I can't get into a trap bar to deadlift.
Yeah,
And then also one of the things that they don't talk about in a lot of like online training courses and stuff like that is your bigger clients who just have a really big stomach. They're not going to be able to bend over and grab a barbell without their self getting in the way. And the trap bar lets them get in there, and there's so much more like mechanically advantageous from that position.
yeah, definitely. I'm choosing a controversial one. I'm gonna go with the sumo deadlift, and not the conventional because I've noticed that in my life I've gotten more benefit from trying to pick stuff up with my feet around it or my legs around it rather than right in front of it. Whether it be like boxes of water or snow if you're shoveling. Um, Usually the wider stance helps to take some of it off the back and puts a little more on the legs. I know EMG wise, it's not that great of a difference, but it's enough for you to feel it. I just feel like that has the most carryover into everyday life, so it's not that cheating.
Not that cheating. You're gonna have a
Yeah,
lot of people.
yeah. All right, let's move on to lunge.
Yeah. Ah, what am I doing for lunge? So for me, I'm a huge like split squat guy. And the ideal position I want people to end up in is like a rear foot elevated split squat or a Bulgarian split squat. But that being said, not everyone can do those. So I'll usually progress it and typically start them with just a regular split squat. So I guess split squats, if that doesn't
Yeah.
not cheating.
Yeah. No,
Categorize.
that one's good. I'm going a weighted or even unweighted reverse lunge.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Generally, those are a little better, easier on the knees for people who have knee problems. I feel it more in my hamstrings and glutes, but it's a weird movement, and you have to get used to it.
It's weird. It's really weird, and you're right. So a lot of people have issues with like the balance aspect of that. There's something different about obviously reaching behind you with your foot. Then.
Yeah. All right. What about push? Oh, we can do. Should we do both, or like you choose one of each, or should we do like just choose a push?
Up to you. Totally up to you. Because that definitely changes my answer.
All right. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say like typically with the push, the category I'll normally rule out is like a vertical push from the beginning. It's not because I don't like it. I mean, if anything, I'm an overhead athlete. I'm really biased, and I really think that like there's nothing better than putting something heavy over your head. But there's so few people who can do so
Yeah.
right from the get-go without causing some injury. So I'm always going with like a horizontal push, and 99% of the time that's going to be a push-up. And if it's not, it's probably going to be like a neutral grip dumbbell bench press.
Why push up? Why something so simple?
I find that like if you can control your body weight, it's a lot easier to control something else. Easier on the shoulders for the most part for most people, and then it's just more accessible. I mean, not that that's really a big reason. Most places have a bar and a bench press, but anyone can do push-ups and you can do them anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can also make them harder. Although I do think that there's a point of like diminishing returns on push-ups, but for like tempo and stuff. And I mean, I'm nowhere near not getting anything out of push-ups. It's very humbling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I think I can. If you guys want to see some cool push-ups, check out Bar Stars.
Bar stars.
Yeah, they're like from New York. They're the calisthenics people.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Now I know who you're talking about.
I think I'm gonna go with a. Oh, great! Now you got me thinking. So that people who don't have the overhead mobility.
Well, I mean, don't rule it out because
Yeah.
if someone can do it, they're getting it every time.
Right.
I'm usually going to have them do something overhead. And I would say 90% of the clients I work with still get overhead work.
Actually, I'm gonna say a landmine press,
Oh,
like a half kneeling or a standing landmine press.
now I'm pissed I didn't pick that. That's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I would
So if you don't know what that is, you just take a barbell and you jam it into a corner. That way it has like pretty free movement on the other end, and you're free to manipulate it in pretty much whatever you want. So you can do squats, presses, rows. But a landmine press, you're kind of locked into the proper movement pattern as long as you're the right distance away from the wall or whatever. And then, yeah, like Matt was saying, it combines horizontal and vertical pressing. And you have to keep your abs tight for stability. And for the most part, it's easier than on people's shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah. I like that.
All right, what about pulls?
Pull.
We can do either for these two.
Yeah. Trying to think. I find that like with pulls, I'm less. There's so many different ways to do it, and there's a lot of different ways to do it without like pissing people's joints off.
Yeah.
That being said, though, usually it's like an inverted row of some sort, barbell, TRX. And once again, you can just load those up and make them more advanced. And for some reason, it's just one of my favorite pulling exercises. Even to this day, I've been doing them for so long.
Yeah, I really like them too. So for those of you who don't know, it's pretty much an upside down push-up where you're just pulling yourself up instead. but those are great to do, especially if you can't do pull-ups. Actually,
Yeah. Good call.
I'm going with the dumbbell seal row with a extension at the top.
I almost took that one too. That's so good.
Yeah. I forgot where I started getting it from, but you basically lie down on an incline bench with your belly on it, and then you row, and then stick your chest out even more because it works most of the muscles in the back, if not all.
And it's like if it leaves your lower back alone for the most part. Like either if you have a pissy lower back or like have a heavy deadlift session the next day.
Yeah.
Upper back work without.
Yeah. And you really kind of have to keep the form strict. You can't use too much weight.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. All right. I don't really do a lot of twist exercises. Do you do any?
We do a ton at Architect. And I would say like the staple is just like a standing band rotation. So like facing the rack, holding the band and just doing a torso twist while keeping your stable. That's probably the biggest one. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't really. Besides that, I don't really do any twists. I do some like anti-rotation, if that counts.
Yeah, I mean it's training basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would argue that most people need to start with anti-rotation before they actually start rotating anyway.
Yeah.
If we're talking about beginners, then I would definitely do like more of like holds and
right.
For sure.
Yeah. For the most part, you guys are going to build your abs better if you do like planks and Pallof presses rather than sit-ups. Not just to build your abs, but, to get some use out of them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they're there for. And then finally, gait. So what walking exercise? I know you said farmer's carries were a big thing for you.
I would probably go with carries. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways to do them, but yeah, just like a traditional one dumbbell or implement, whatever, in each hand.
Yeah.
That's probably my go-to.
Yeah, you don't really get more. There's no exercise with more transference than carrying heavy things.
Oh my god, absolutely
not. I can proudly say I can take all my groceries in now in one trip.
Every time.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, so those are our choices for all 7 of the movement patterns. Start light, get the movement down, get it stable, make sure you're able to sync your breathing with it.
Yep.
3x10 is a great way to start. What about what weight should they choose? I know it's a hard question, but do they go like balls to the wall or?
Yeah, no, that's always a hard question. It's funny because like I would say that's the most common question that I'm asked on a daily basis. What do you think I should start with? That's a loaded question. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I always tell people to start with something that they could go up confidently the next time, and to leave a little bit in the tank for a couple of reasons. You don't know if that movement's going to cause you pain. You don't know if at the end it's going to be harder than when you started. And I always like people to start with enough room to progress a little bit each time, because you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
In a rush to get there, because it sucks once you are there.
It's better to start on the lighter side because you always have room to go up.
Definitely.
But if you start heavier and then if that's too much for you, that's really going to be a hit to your personal ego and your confidence if you have to drop it down.
And also just kind of like delays, like you get stuck.
Yeah.
And then you have to reset, and that's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So pretty much choose something that you can do with great form for pretty much all your reps. Excuse me. And then, say you can probably do like 3 more after that.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Like just having a few reps in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that. How many days? What about that? Yeah. Frequency.
I usually start people by telling them 3.
Yeah.
A lot of times people ask me when they sign like a contract, they're like, "Oh, like how many days do you think I should do?"
Right.
And I always hesitate against jumping in at like 6 or 7, just because you can get almost the same results out of 3 or 4 from the beginning without making yourself kind of hate that process.
Yeah.
And I think 2 is starting to get a little bit not enough.
Yeah.
So
We touched on the topic before. We don't really want to go like hard, like super hard all the time because you'll burn yourself out.
oh, for sure.
So yeah, if you can start with 3, I think that's a good place to build a habit. But you definitely don't need to be doing it 6 or 7 times a week.
No.
How often do you train actually?
How often do I train? 5 sessions, and then I've been adding like a couple other, and I don't even want to call them training sessions, because it's more just like technique stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing 4 for the longest time.
Honestly, so for me, if I'm not weightlifting, and the only reason I do 5 with weightlifting is I need like the practice and the exposure.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing like general strength or just trying to get strong, a 4 is my sweet spot. I love 4.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I think that's everything. Did we miss on anything?
I don't think so. That was thorough.
Yeah, I think that was some good info on that one.
I love talking programming. I mean, it's like fun stuff, so.
Do you have any closing words or anything? Any tips that you want to leave them with?
I think the biggest one is find something and stick with it until it's done. Not like a 2-week program, but generally at least a month, and ideally 3 months.
Yeah.
Finish it, and then make your next choice.
Don't jump programs. If say CrossFit was popular today, you're doing a CrossFit program next week. You're probably better off jumping off the CrossFit program, but like if yeah. But yeah, stick with it because the changes don't happen instantly. It takes a little while for you to start noticing some changes in your body. So stick with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. That's another great episode in the books. If you want to find us, it's at Chasing Strength and at Kilos and Closings on Instagram and Facebook. Feel free to hit us up if you have any questions, comments, leave them below for any future topics. If you learned something, share it because you might help someone else learn something. And if you didn't, share it anyway because someone else might learn something. That's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.